it can feel like you've been punched in the gut over and over again, may I add. Okay. So today we're going to talk about the twin flame experience. All right. And I'm going to give you 4 points that I want to cover. Okay. Now, you've got the initial stage of the twin flame experience. You've got the separation stage of the twin flame experience. You've got the heartbreak, which is crazy. And then you've got the healing process, which is step 4. Now, I know you're hurting. Trust me, I do. I know you're hurting because you feel like the love that you have for your twin flame is everything. There is nothing like it. And trust me, if you're anything like me, you've experienced narcissistic love. It's the type of love where it's conditional and it's transactional. And you are giving to your twin flame, or have given to your twin flame, and are willing to give again the type of love that most people pray for. It's the type of love that people affirm for, that they write lists for and do affirmations for and watch The Secret for and read self-help talk about consistently. It's the type of love that anybody would want to experience, and you're willing to give that unconditionally. So why has he or she run? Let's get into it. Okay, so number one, the initial stages, which is basically when you met your twin flame. You will probably go through a process where meeting them, it's not that it feels familiar, because I always say that familiar is something that you probably want to run away from, because if familiar hasn't worked out for you in the past, or if it feels anything like experiences that you've had, and I've had to do the work on figuring out what familiar is for me. It can feel like connections that you've had from your childhood. And if any of those childhood connections going into teenage dating and then onwards from there feels like toxicity and narcissism, belittling, and all the other forms of narcissism, which I'll get into in another video, then familiar is not where we're going with this. That's not twin flame. But twin flame can feel like a connection that feels meant to be. It can feel like a part of you is in the other person and they are with you. You will probably feel the connection so strong that you will probably even say that to each other. Like, you feel like the female version of me, you feel like the male version of me, and they will say it to you. And you will find connections in things that you do, and the things that you like, and the things that you experience. And there will be even timelines where you might have even crossed paths at some point. And maybe, the universe hasn't aligned to bring you two together, but it was so close. It's like, well, this was bound to happen at some point. And then you go through the experience of a relationship, a friendship relationship, where being together is something, even when you're busy and you've got other things to do, being together at the end of the day or the start of the day, or at least at some point during the day, is the only thing in your busy schedule that is the number one thing that needs to happen. Okay. Then comes the separation stage. Now, this can come from a multitude of different reasons why people break up. So I won't even spend too long on this, because the separation stage, the reason for it happening is neither here nor there. It happens. Things outside of your control can create the separation stage, but it's what happens in the separation stage. And in that separation stage, the feeling can feel like you've been punched in the damn gut, because it's now like a piece of you has walked away, and it looks as if that person and that feeling and that piece of you is never going to come back to you at any point. You can feel like you're literally broken from the inside out. You don't know who you are, what you are, why you're here, what your purpose is anymore. You feel lost. And then you go through, on top of all of that, you go through all the stages of depression. So there's the disbelief and the anger and the bargaining and then you're waiting to get to that point where there's acceptance, and it's not coming. Every day feels like a week. Every day feels like it's going on longer and longer at each specific moment. And I'm sorry if I'm bringing this all back to you, or I'm bringing it all up, and now you probably might be sitting there just thinking, no, I can't even listen to this. But please stick around until we get to the healing process, because it's valid. It's valid for this twin flame experience. Now, the next part of this is the heartbreak, and that is completely linked to, it's actually linked to every part of this, but the heartbreak comes in during the separation stage, just when you start searching for things like twin flame, because it's never been something that you've probably even heard before. It's not something that you'd even take any notice of. Even if you saw notifications for videos or you saw it whilst you were scrolling, it's not going to come really into your feed, into your psyche, until you start searching up why you're in so much pain from this breakup, why this breakup feels so much different, so different from every other breakup that you've ever experienced in your life. On top of that, you start to notice things, synchronicities, angel numbers. You start to notice double numbers on receipts and on clocks, and you see the same number several times a day. I used to see 55 every hour of the day in the initial stages of my separation and heartbreak stage. I saw it with every hour, no matter what time it was. I could wake up in the middle of the night, look at the clock, and it would be 02:55. It just didn't stop, and it was freaking me out until I started to research into it. Then when I started reading into the synchronicities, I realized that this was so much more. And everything started to link. And I realized it was so much more than I ever actually gave it the credit for. I never gave it the grace that it required to realize that this was done for me, not to me, in order to help me through some of the most crappiest experiences that I have ever allowed myself or given anyone access to. And that's where comes the healing process. And let me say this to you. Please do not think that I'm making this video because I am healed and I am over this entire experience. I am far from it. It's been nearly 4 years and I am still in the healing process, which is why I make these videos, because I want to tell you that even if it's been several years and you haven't, you may have had reunion, but if you haven't got to the point of union, and reunion basically means that you meet up with your twin flame again, you have an experience, but it doesn't work out. That means there's still work to do. And the work needs to be done on you, because you can only control what happens to you. They need to do their work separately, and that's got nothing to do with you, let me tell you, okay? That other half has separated you from you for a reason. But when it comes to you personally, the healing process is about finding your shadow self and healing your shadow self. And it basically means doing shadow work. It basically means looking into healing parts of you that you have ignored, waking up to what you believe has been your normal, which has probably been things that are quite toxic, which is probably why your relationship ended and you've had toxic experiences throughout that, things that they have done to you or because of you or because of themselves or because of outside things that you think, well, how the heck this be my twin flame? My twin flame would love me. My twin flame would be there for me. My twin flame would care about me. They would never treat me like this. That's not true. Because what they're doing is they're mirroring back to you exactly what it is that you've been pushing to one side several times over. And sometimes it's like it bounces back and then you push it back away. And you've allowed access to things that have maybe ripped pieces of you away. You may have, maybe you know that you need to be doing things with your health that are beneficial, and you do it for 5 minutes and then you don't do it anymore, or you're not consistent, I guess is what I'm really trying to say. You're not consistent. If you're not consistent with yourself, how the heck can you expect anybody to be consistent in loving you when you're not loving yourself? And don't get me wrong, I do not believe that you have to be fully whole before you get into a relationship with that God-sent person. I believe that you two of you can heal each other in the process, but you have to get to a point where you're aware of what it is they have done. And I mean other people around you, the theys that do not get a part of you anymore, those people that you've blocked and that when you see them, you get a knot in your stomach, those theys that have no filter when they speak to you. What is it about you that has created the allowance of the access that you have given these people? Now, you can't control everybody that you come into contact with, but there are people that you've consistently given access to. What have you done about this? Where the heck is this coming from? Is it coming from your childhood? Probably. Do you need to do some shadow work to create some type of boundary? And that's a big one. Boundaries in who you give access to. Do you need to be more consistent in how you love yourself? What does loving yourself look like? Does it mean having a monthly massage? Does it mean going to yoga? Does it mean that you spend more time with yourself? Stop worrying about when you're going to meet that person. Does it mean just loving on you and looking in the mirror and actually seeing the beauty of who you are and what you have to offer. I don't have all the answers, because let me tell you, it does not hurt as much as it did 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago, but it hurts. It hurts. And one of the things that I had to do even recently is I said I was going to write a letter, and I ended up just speaking the letter out, and I cried through the entire thing. I pictured it as if I was speaking directly to my twin flame. And what I realized more than anything is some of the things that he had done must have something to do with the way that he was raised. He doesn't give himself grace, and if that grace was never given to him, then he can never give that. Loving on yourself, setting boundaries with yourself and for yourself, and being consistent and being the best part. And if you fall off and do something that you think, I shouldn't really be doing this, then fine, give yourself the grace, do what you need to do. Maybe you just need a moment, and then get right back on the gravy train and do what's necessary. Now, does that mean you're going to be in union with your twin flame? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm not God. But what I do know is you'll emerge a much better version of yourself than you were before. So the solution to all of this is, and I know it's easier said than done, you've gone through this to make you a better you, so that you can give access to better versions of who you are. And the better version of who you are whilst they're working on themselves is that other twin flame. And if you are in union, I'm kind of jealous. But if you're not, it's probably why you're watching this video, then you know what? That's not the ultimate goal, but it's a beautiful experience. I can only imagine. I imagine it as much as I can. And I could imagine that two, maybe not whole people, but two people who have done and are doing the work, when they come together, whoo, fireworks in the good sense, like rainbows. After this on angel numbers, and the twin flame element is in every one of them. So if you are seeing repeated numbers, then check out some of my videos in either the twin flame journey or the angel number guidance playlist, and live your life, honey. Live your life. I pray for you.